Let's wreck and roll, everybody. We have a great episode coming back with Slow Your Roll. And we got Handwork.
What up?
We got Jed in the house.
What it do?
Yeah, and we're back after a hiatus last week, but make no mistake, this is going to be a great show today. Here's what we have on deck. We have an entirely, not quite, almost entirely a college football show. And that's largely because it's rivalry week. We think that we would be remiss to not speak about what is going on the landscape of college football. But then as well, we've got the college basketball rankings that just were announced with the AP poll. So we'll break down the top 5 and a few other intricacies from throughout the top 25. And then as well, something that just came to fruition was the Olympics are indoctrinating flag football. So we're going to go there because think about that, folks. The Olympics indoctrinating flag football. I wonder who would have an advantage over the rest of the countries.
Can't imagine who.
No, I can't think of who might be the best at football. With that being said, let's go.
Nope.
What do we have on deck? College football first.
I think I'd like to ask you, the only USC fan here, about what took place last weekend. Notre Dame, USC.
Where
What are your
was it?
thoughts? What?
Where was it?
Notre Dame, USC.
Where was it?
Where was it? South Bend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the score?
48-20.
Yeah. Who won?
I think it was Notre Dame.
So I was there, folks. I was. And it was the first USC game that I had attended in a couple years, for sure. And to say that the SC faithful, the spirit of Troy, were disappointed is a wildly understated phrase. I think that out of the 700 people that were on the bus system caravanning back to Chicago, probably 699 of them were voicing their displeasure on the bus. The one was sleeping. He might have been the most mad. Here's what transpired, though. And, here's what I want to say. Hats off to the Irish. Hats off to the Irish crowd. It was electric. It was a great venue to go and watch a game. I loved being in the shadow of Touchdown Jesus. The structure there on Notre Dame's campus. That was all cool. I loved the tailgating venue. I thought that they rocked the house. I mean, there were people cooking, you name it. It was there. Long lines of Rooter buses. It was a mad house. But as soon as kickoff went, you knew that it was going to be trouble for USC. And a large portion of that was going 3 and out and then, managing to throw an interception where Williams missed the tight end down the seam pretty early. And that return set the Irish up inside the 15, and, they punched it in, so it was 7 already. And you're going, oh, man, here we go. But USC never recovered. I mean, Williams was sacked 7-8 times, threw 3 interceptions, including, those in the first half. And so it was just out of touch. I mean, the running game could not be established. Their secondary of Notre Dame was phenomenal, covering each USC weapon downfield. I mean, Brendan Rice didn't do a whole lot. Taj Washington didn't do a whole lot. The most disappointing thing was 17 rush and receiving yards apiece for Zachariah Branch in his return. The center, Justin Dedich, was horrible. I mean, I can't think of many other things to put slander on. And I thought, Lincoln Riley was not very good as a head coach. Yeah, well, right. So you're right. You allow a 100-yard kick return, that's no good. The only bright spot for a large portion of the game was the defense that kept getting the Irish off the field. Other than when they were put in the red zone. I'm not saying that they, they allowed 48. I mean, 41, given the kick return. But Hartman only went 13 of 20 for 126. Audric Esteem ran it well, but it was kind of, chunk yardage. There wasn't necessarily any burst from him. The only glaring issue was a 46-yard, crossing route to David Tyree, who scored that touchdown. So, I don't know. That's kind of what I would say about it. I was largely disappointed, as most people were. I would say that Williams all but played his way out of the Heisman. Their weapons weren't supreme. It was yet another week where whether it was their route tree or their ability or quickness or whatever you want to say, USC receivers couldn't get separation away from the Irish defenders. So that was a concern because that's been the case against Colorado. It was the case against, for much of the game, it was the case against Arizona too. So I don't know. I just don't know. I think this is a USC team that the ceiling now falls to a New Year's Six if you went out, but you're out of the playoff.
Do you think there's any shot they could still make the playoff if they went out?
Beat Washington in the Pac-12 championship, and is there a case they can make?
I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay,
that's
fair.
Yeah, I'm hard pressed to believe that they will make that work.
Yeah.
But just for sake of argument, if it were to happen, yeah, I think there's room for getting in. I think that, though, what we're not talking about is the work that would need to happen above them in order for all of that to happen. So,
yeah,
that's what I would say. And now, they fought at 18.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time we saw somebody 15 or 10 or lower go into week 8 and make the playoff?
I don't think we've ever seen anything like that before.
No. So it would take a monumental push, which I don't think they're talented enough or different enough in terms of what they bring to be able to do that.
Yeah, and not to mention they play a Utah team. It is at home, but they play a Utah team that beat them twice last year.
Well, that, and, I think the largest factor is does Cam Rising play? The continuation in terms of the word around that is that he won't. And maybe you shut him down for the year and get him back, right? That wouldn't be bad. But there's been kind of conflicting reports, though, out of Salt Lake, which is interesting. And, I don't want to shift up too much, but I think this is worth talking about, given USC's path, is that the word was that Rising was cleared in week 2 medically by the Utah medical staff. But his surgeon has been holding him back from participation. That's kind of where we're at now. So it's been interesting to note that. But here's something that I'm not sure if you guys know or not. Maybe you do. Is that his surgeon is from LA.
Interesting.
And so it almost becomes a question of, is it being held back so that he hasn't been able to prepare for the USC? I don't know. I really don't.
Everybody loves a good conspiracy.
There's kind of not a whole lot to say about that, other than that's just what people are asking, because that's true. It's like people are wondering if that has any merit. That's neither here nor there. I don't think so necessarily, but maybe. Crazier things have happened.
That's absolutely true.
So that's kind of the wrap on USC. After seeing what Washington did, that's going to be a game that's virtually impossible to win.
Yeah.
Frankly. I won't say impossible, but highly unlikely, I think. Also, Oregon may have lost, but they had every reason to win that game.
Yeah.
And they played outstanding, even in a loss.
Yeah.
So that was a quality game.
Both of those teams are playoff caliber teams, absolutely, this year, especially with the way it's shaken up, the fall of big teams like Alabama. It's definitely one of those years where both of those teams are, I'd say, top 4 in talent, if not both top 5.
So do you think that the likelihood is that it's those two who play again for the Pac-12?
I think so. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm going to say no because they're both in the North.
No, it's divisional.
Yeah.
It's divisional?
It's based on record now.
Yeah.
Well, then yes, there is a very, very high percentage chance that happens. That's going to happen.
My man tried to trip me. That was crazy.
I don't know. I got so used to the North and South and always having to deal with the, tiebreakers and for a long time, the South was just so top heavy with the North. Yeah. And so now I like the change, but.
No, it's hat on hat, but no, that was the case. And think about it this way: the Pac-12 was South last year. True. So it's happened.
It is.
And I don't know. We'll see.
We will.
But
we will see Washington and Oregon play in the Pac-12 championship. We will see.
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah.
We will see that.
He's prophesying, folks. He's ready for it. In week 8, we're on the way. But no, that game day experience was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love seeing that for Seattle football.
$30,000 kick made by a Washington student. I don't know if anybody caught that.
That was cool. Yeah.
It was supposed to be 60, but the 30 is pretty good too.
He'll take it.
He missed that first one left, but he booted that thing.
Yeah.
That was going in.
Yeah, it was so good. I think Herbie wanted him to take it again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But we've kind of smacked the Pac-12. Yep. What else do we want to hit?
Yeah, so
the college level.
Yeah, just going back to that Oregon-Washington game. What did you guys think of Oregon electing to go for it on 4th and 3 at the 50-yard line? If they get the conversion, they essentially win the game. And what did you guys think about that? And instead of they miss it, and they have the opportunity to pin Washington deep, and then Washington, because Oregon missed it, they go right down the length of the field in 30 seconds. So what did you guys think about that decision to go for it on 4th and 3 by the Ducks?
It's you're at this point in the game, Oregon's down both of their starting corners. So what do you trust more? Your defense against the top receiving core in the nation with Michael Penix at the helm, or your offense to pick up 3 yards. Yeah, that's what it came down to. So,
which they've been doing that. They've been churning out yards all day.
Yeah.
So
I essentially believe that it wasn't the worst decision in the world, but I think punting it and pinning Washington deep would have helped out a lot.
Yeah.
That's not to say it wouldn't. 40 yards of field position does make a huge difference, but it's one of those decisions where it's he would have been a hero after the game if they had picked up that 4th down.
Yeah. Sure.
So it's it's one of those hindsight's 20/20.
For sure.
And you can't just wrap your head around that all day and just get stuck on that one moment in the game because it really could have gone either way.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is say you punt it away and attempt to pin, what if it ends up in the end zone? Right?
That's true.
What if it's a touchdown? So
25-yard line.
There's such a variable there. It's okay, it would have been half, right, of what they ended up having to do, which was about the 50, as we said.
Yeah.
So the 25 would have been better. No one's going to argue that.
Yeah.
But that's such a variable. 75 or 50, it's almost marginal change.
Yeah.
So, especially for an offense like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you looked at the analytics, then it would have told them to go for it.
Yeah.
100 out of 100 times.
Yeah.
So.
You know what I can't believe, though, is how Washington has continued to do what they've done without Cam Davis, because they haven't had their starting running back for all of the year. And yet they're still here.
Yeah, Michael Penix has been absolutely phenomenal. And I still think after that game with how well Bo Nix played that he still has a chance at the Heisman.
Yeah.
And if they meet again in the Pac-12 championship, that game might be for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
So that would be a storyline, folks.
Yeah. Yes, it would. Wow. I would love to see that.
Right now, all signs point to Penix as the Heisman.
Yes.
I agree.
That's true. Yeah, I agree with that. And Shadur lost it.
Yeah, he's done.
Weeks ago.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Caleb is essentially out.
Yeah.
Now. I won't rule that out entirely.
Yes.
But because we were speaking off camera, he still leads in passing touchdowns this year. And he's still up there in quite a few other stats. Yeah. And they're still 6-1.
Yeah.
That's not, the depth, but it'll be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
And he's battling voter fatigue this year too.
That's it.
Which is a really real thing, and that's the reason that Joel Embiid has an MVP in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
You guys think that Oklahoma's quarterback Dylan Gabriel can win the Heisman maybe after that performance against Texas?
Yeah. I think so, but I think Oklahoma would need to win out basically.
Yeah.
Could he? Yes. Will he? Probably not.
Yeah. I think he'll probably be invited.
Yeah. Top 5.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment of the situation, I'd say.
Right now, I would say he's probably at 3.
I agree.
Yeah. Behind Penix, Nix, Gabriel, Williams. I think Williams dropped to 4, probably. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that's pretty good.
All right. And let's shift to the Big Ten.
Okay.
We got Michigan State.
Yep.
I know that we have things to say.
Yep.
Very
So
excited for that
let's
game.
say them. Handwork, lead us off, baby. I know this is your thing.
Yeah, I'm very excited. The fact that it's going to be a night game at Spartan Stadium.
Wearing thy
all
shadows.
black. Yep.
Night shadows. Those uniforms are going to be really cool. I expect Michigan State to probably lose badly, but I think
Well, no reason to sugarcoat that one. I expect them to probably lose badly.
I just think Michigan is a very good team. They're very well balanced, especially on offense with J.J. McCarthy and the running backs. I know we haven't seen a lot of Donovan Edwards this year. He got his first touchdown last week. Blake Corum's looked good. Rowan Wilson has looked spectacular at a wide receiver. And then the defense. I just think Michigan all around, they're a great football team. This is Michigan State's Super Bowl. Like, this is the game. This is the most important game on the calendar. And the fact that I think it's a night game will keep it in the game.
Yeah.
In, like, the first quarter, we've seen this year Michigan has had some slow starts. And
True.
I think that will be the case tomorrow night. But I expect midway through the second quarter, Michigan rolls away with it.
You got something to say?
Go ahead.
Do we think that MSU can cover the 24-point spread?
Oh, my.
I think final score.
This is what we've come to in discussing this rivalry.
Oh.
That just 2 years ago gave us a generational game.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. You ready for this? The last time that we were 21-plus point dogs, we won.
Yep, 2020.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it. Now, that was a game that was on the road, but there were no fans. There were like 200 people.
It's the COVID year.
Yeah. And that was first year under Coach Tucker.
His first win.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That was, a Ricky White masterclass, which
UNLV legend.
Okay. You really didn't need to go there with that. This dude out here talking about White on UNLV. No, but seriously, there were so many extraneous factors that year that if you consider having fans in the big house, that's probably a loss.
Yes,
I agree.
Because of the difference they make.
Yeah.
The difference that home environment makes. But that helps us this year. So
yeah, it does.
I don't know. Do you think Hauser will come back with a performance? Because we didn't get to talk about the disappointment of last week.
Yeah, he looked, despite that disappointment in the fourth quarter, he looked really good.
Yeah.
He had a passing touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown. Yeah, a couple of his throws weren't perfect, but he looked really good. Much better than Noah Kim has looked this year. And I think making the switch over to Hauser, I think, was the right choice. And I think he can elevate on last week's performance. I don't think it's going to be enough for them to win the game, but maybe cover that 24.5 or 24-point spread it is.
Yep, 24.
Yeah, so I think they could cover it. Do I think they will? No, I don't.
Yeah. It's one of those things. You got to kick it off and see what happens. I mean, it's going to be interesting, but
that it will.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's stay in the Big Ten, though, because we got another one that's major that's on our hands. What do we know about that one? I'm not even going to say who it is.
Penn State, Ohio State, top 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be fun because a lot of people think that this could be Penn State's year. Like,
Yeah.
They could win a Big Ten championship. They could beat Ohio State. They could beat Michigan. They have the quarterback and Drew Aller. They have a great rushing attack.
Yeah.
They have a pretty good defense, too.
Yeah.
So I think Penn State could definitely go into Columbus tomorrow and shock the world. I think this game's going to be very similar to the game that we saw in 2017. It was like top 10. Penn State had like Trace McScore early and Saquon Barkley.
Blocked field goal.
Blocked field goal.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very similar to that game in terms of the hype. I think Ohio State, though, because of the talent that they have with Marvin Harrison Jr. and the wide receivers that they have, and Kyle McCord's looked a lot better.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State's going to win, but it's going to be close.
Okay.
It's going to be really close.
Okay.
I think I'm just going to go right out here and predict that Penn State's going to win this ball game.
Hey!
But if they don't, the key to that is neutralizing Marvin Harrison Jr. That offense has looked lackluster outside of Ibuka and him. I really think Marvin Harrison Jr. and shutting him down is the deciding factor who wins this ball game. But I think Penn State gets it done.
It'd be pretty cool to see Penn State win, for sure.
It would.
It would.
It would. Yeah, I agree with what both of you guys said. I really do. From a couple different perspectives. But I think it's going to be Penn State, too. I really do. I think they just have all the pieces right now. And it's time for a changing of the guard in the Big Ten. Maybe. So, we'll see. But
No time like the present.
hey, no. Do we want to talk about what's going on with Michigan? Because we skated over the game.
Yeah, I think we should. Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what the word has become is that Michigan is, guilty of sending a member of the staff to different locations to scout in person and read, play call signs, and try and debunk a lot of what other teams are doing in terms of their schematics. Now there's even word that he had military background.
Yeah,
and
I came out late last night.
It's crazy. So, what can you guys tell me more about that? As kind of just the bare bones.
From what I've seen from the response from the general public, it seems like they're under the impression that this isn't a big deal. This is just scouting.
Yep.
That's pretty much the extent of what I've seen. I've even seen former players come out and speak about it, like J.J. Watt. Scouting. We did this at Wisconsin while I was there. I played against them. I'm from Wisconsin. I don't like Michigan. That's just scouting. That's all it is. So, I think that's the biggest thing I've seen is people coming to Michigan's defense.
Yeah, it seems like the only people that are coming to Michigan's defense are either the Michigan fans and supporters and are people that aren't MSU and Ohio State fans. It seems like the independent thinkers that aren't MSU and Ohio State fans. I personally believe that this might be something to raise a concern about because it kind of reminds me a lot of what the Patriots did. I don't know if you remember Spygate.
Yeah.
Where they set up cameras in opposing team stadiums, I think it was, and they recorded practices.
Or Deflategate.
Yeah, Honestly, I really don't think it's going to make that much of a difference because I think that Michigan will be able to get through this. There'll be no bowl ban. There'll be no vacated wins.
Yeah.
I think they'll be able to get through this. And I don't really think anything important is going to come out of this investigation.
Yeah.
I'm just going to draw one small connection that you just made, which is that New England had their fair share of incidents over time. The last 10, 15 years, and largely more recent. But all of that occurred while Tom Brady was quarterback, who went to Michigan.
Yep.
Okay. Michigan has been the team that has been attacked with the whole, coach in the library computer situation.
Yeah.
Bought a recruited cheeseburger.
Yeah, the Mozzie Smith and the incident last year. Donovan Edwards made a couple mistakes.
Right. The recruiting issues that have occurred.
The most expensive cheeseburger of Jim Harbaugh's life.
Dude, you're crazy. You stop that. and then now we're here. So it's interesting because they can't get out of the eye of the NCAA. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you from the standpoint that nothing major will come of it, probably, unless it's something earth-shattering, but it shouldn't be. Did either of you, by the way, though, see the Shiano interview at halftime?
I did see that.
That was crazy.
I didn't.
Oh my goodness. So let's fill him in.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention too is someone made the point on this like a local Detroit radio show the other day was that they scouted, like they're alleging that they scouted last season's college football playoff opponents that they would potentially play, and someone argued that the one team that they didn't scout was TCU because they didn't think TCU would make the playoff. So then they go up against TCU, and then they don't have the game plan that they scouted, so TCU ended up beating them. So that's something I thought I'd bring up.
Wow. Okay. But the Shiano thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Michigan played Rutgers, and that was a 14-7 game going into halftime.
Yep.
That was, difficult to overcome, slow start. And Shiano was asked, point blank, how do you feel about where you're at? Are you comfortable? And his response was puzzling, to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, his response, in essence, was, there are some weird things going on the field. I'm not sure what to make of this. We got to figure it out. And then this comes out the week later, and you're going, what?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
What did he know? What did he say? So I have no idea what to make of that. But the interview, literally, his quote was, there are weird things going on the field. I'm not sure what's happening, but we will address it.
Yeah.
And then he left the interview. It was like, what? Yeah. It was crazy.
I think they said in the report that, I think it was 2 or maybe 3 coaches went to the Big Ten with concerns, and he might have been one of them. Yeah.
But if that's true, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, there's the possibility of, Harbaugh already knowing the play call of the other team as soon as they're lined up and, relaying that information to his players and all the players immediately adjusting on field to perfectly stop the play.
You're right.
Yeah. I think, it's probably little tells like that, once they start happening over and over again, there's just no way, me getting a signal should lead to this team knowing exactly what play we're running.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to my man Kaysen Dougal from back home, who was actually at the Oregon-Washington game. But when I was driving back from Chicago and he was, on his way back to Boise after that game, he called me and he said, we were talking about a plethora of things related to college football. But one of the things he said was, what do you think about Michigan? Because they keep running up scores on people. And it's looking more impressive than it has in recent years. And then the week later, after he, says that too, this comes out. And so it begs the question, Michigan does look a lot better than they have at this point of the year, this year, compared to years past. And why?
Yeah.
Maybe it has something to do with having the knowledge. I don't know. But it's a very weird situation.
I feel like all of their seasons in recent history kind of look this way. They'll play the lower to middle tier of the Big Ten, and you'll get 42-7, 35-7, 42-7, over and over again. And I feel like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Then they have one close game against one of those middle tier teams. Then they play Ohio State, Big Ten championship, finish right around 3 or 4, and I feel like that's typically the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, which is funny because that's a reversal of course from what it was.
Yeah.
Originating under Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Originally, it was they went on the field and they had 9 or 10 wins built in every year, and then the teams that would slip them up would be teams like Wisconsin if they were on the schedule, Penn State, Michigan State a couple times, and then they'd always lose to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And not only lose to Ohio State, they'd lose to Ohio State bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yes. But no, it's completely shifted. It's different now. And yeah, do we have anywhere else to go within college football?
What is your guys' national championship predictions?
There it is.
I still think Michigan is the best team in the Big Ten. I still think they'll get to the playoff.
Do you think they'll get through the opening game?
It depends on who they
It's
play.
gonna be-
If they play a team like Florida State, I could see them
Well,
slipping.
as of right now, if things were to continue the way they're going, it's going to be Washington.
I think Washington could beat them. I really do.
I think Washington absolutely could. In fact, that's a revenge game after what happened last year.
Yep.
Or no,
2
I'm
years
sorry.
ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm freshman.
Yeah, as much as it, like, I think in Michigan, if they don't get to the Natty, I think that their season's a failure. I really do. Because, I mean, they've been to the college football playoff the last 2 years. Georgia, I'm not going to give any excuse for them losing in Georgia. Georgia was really, really good.
Yeah.
TCU, a team that you kind of made fun of. J.J. McCarthy was like, yeah, we can beat the 3-5 or whatever it was. And then you lose, you give up 51 points against them. I think they have to win that semifinal game this year. They got to get it done. And I think if you win the Natty, like if you lose a heartbreaker to Georgia, let's say like, I don't know, like 38-24, that's fine. But you got to get to the Natty. And I think they will. I think it's Georgia versus Michigan.
Wow.
Ooh,
Wow.
Okay.
So you think Washington gets booted?
Yes.
Do you think they make the playoff?
I do think they make the playoff.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
I think they'll probably end up playing Michigan. And I think Michigan will be able to wear them down a little bit on defense. I think it will be pretty similar to the TCU game. But Michigan learning from last year's mistakes against TCU, I think they'll be able to get through Washington in a pretty big game. And I think if Florida State's able to win the ACC, they'll play Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Washington, Georgia for the national
Me too.
championship.
Yeah.
I really like
yeah.
that matchup.
Yeah.
I think Washington matches up well with Michigan.
Yeah.
I think that, last year we saw TCU beat them. I think Penix is better than Dugan, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
100% agree with
Ardunis
that.
is better than Quentin Johnston,
Yeah.
the top receiving threat for TCU.
Yep.
I think you factor, top two weapons on offense together, and they're both better than TCU. It's hard to imagine a world where you can predict that Michigan's going to take down Washington.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you said that because as I just kind of retreated into my thought right before you started speaking, and I feel the same way.
Okay.
I really do.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that happening. I don't think Florida State is good enough to do that. I think Michigan is, but I think Washington, for the reasons you mentioned, have the upper hand.
Yeah.
For sure. Past that, you'd be hard pressed to see anybody else there. I mean, if Penn State can sneak out, with a win in the Big Ten, maybe you consider that.
Okay.
Maybe you do. But there's a lot of if, thens, and buts that have to happen, for all of that to occur. But I would say, yeah, I agree with you.
Okay.
I really do.
Who wins, Georgia or Washington? I say Georgia beats Michigan. I just don't think Michigan's
I'd like to think Georgia's going to win that game, but I do think Washington could definitely make it interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it won't. We're not getting another 65-7.
No. I think the fact that even happened is just outrageous.
Well, the whole way it happened is weird. Michigan beat Ohio State. Ohio State in the semifinal lost by missing a field goal to Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then TCU beats Michigan and then gets blown out 65-7.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, I think Ohio State, they were matched up to beat Georgia because they have all that talent. Michigan, I think the reason they've beaten Ohio State is they know how to get physical with them. Like, they're built for that game against Ohio State. They're not built for Georgia.
Yeah.
Because they don't have – I mean, they got some great players, but they don't have that talent.
Yeah. Okay.
Good assessment.
I like that.
Yep.
I really do. Well, that feels like pretty exhaustive on college football.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think rivalry week is going to be good.
We've exhausted it so much, I now no longer want to watch.
Yes, you do. You and I both know you'll be tuned in.
I will definitely be in the stadium tomorrow evening.
Yes.
7:30.
Yes, you will. 7:30 prime time on Peacock. Let's
And
go.
Okay, now that makes me not want to watch. Peacock. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
I wonder who the announcers for that game is going to be. They're going to bring in Mike Tirico.
Oh man, that would be otherworldly. I would dig that.
He did like
he's a Michigan guy.
Yeah, I think they should bring him in for that because I remember he did the 04 game when Braylon Edwards went like crazy and he was the announcer with that.
So. He's an Ann Arbor guy. I know that.
They should bring him in for that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. In other news related to football, but the NFL, there's word now that flag football could be a part of the Olympics, which, as we had stated at the outset of the show, that's crazy to consider America. I'll just burst the bubble, folks. America versus everyone else.
Yep.
What in the world can you guys tell me about that?
I can tell you, I can't wait to watch Tyreek Hill line up against a 20-year-old Albanian. It will be cinema, ladies and gentlemen. Cinema.
Against a 20-year-old Albanian.
That has it's just one of those situations. What I mean by this is, you have all these countries that don't play football at all. Some may have never played, and you're gonna have guys that have picked up the game semi-recently. So my point to that is, it's gonna be, whether they're British or French, it's gonna be really interesting to see them try to cover, some of the NFL superstars, and I think it'll make for a good time.
What?
Oh, jeez.
You're telling me that you're going to get a substitute teacher from Burundi who's going to defend against, the likes of Derrick Henry. Yeah. I mean, come on. Now.
DK Metcalf versus like a Bulgarian farmer. Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, it really is just outstanding to even consider. And especially, too, the memes, that we saw flying around.
So
were hilarious. Yeah. Tell me about a couple of those while we have the chance.
No, I got a sleeper team, actually. American Samoa.
Okay.
They can make
rugby.
They can make some noise to like the third-place game.
Or like New Zealand.
Well, no, they have a big presence in terms of football players in the NFL, too.
Oh, you're right. Understood.
Like, that's not even like, that's not, right. No, I was just like,
Yeah, no.
They have a big presence within the NFL.
That's not where I was thinking. But you're right, though. I mean, I can't deny
So my point to that being, there are, other nationalities within the NFL, even though it's not super prevalent, it does exist. Yeah. And, you look at countries like Australia, too, like to your point with rugby.
Yeah.
Who could also come out, field some guys, and compete.
Yeah. Because at that point, you understand the physicality. You understand the relative system. Yeah. Of course, play calling is different.
Yeah.
But similar.
Yeah.
At times.
And there's Canada with the CFL.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I wonder is, maybe it's more of a question than we think.
Maybe.
But here's what I do wonder, though, is now we're starting to see in the Olympics, namely with basketball, players split away from America to be the guy on one of these lesser-known teams. And it's because of a ethnic association that they have. And the rules are shifting a little bit. So we might be able to see that, too, if that were wanted, right, is if players who are from America but have the ethnic background, have the family association, could jump ship and make it more interesting on a worldly sense. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it will definitely help with the ratings of the Olympics, just having those NFL players there and other players that might jump ship to different countries, depending on what you mentioned with the ethnicity. I think it's going to be a great addition.
What do you guys think, about the fact that things like this are becoming Olympic competition? Because I don't necessarily like it.
Okay.
I think it jeopardizes the integrity of what the Olympics are.
Yeah.
But, as you said, And it's the most important. The dollars,
The ratings,
everything.
yeah.
So it's ratings. Yeah.
Truth be told, with this situation specifically, as it pertains to football, I think this is a good introduction to the rest of the world. You know, obviously the U.S. is going to be dominant, but I think this is a great way to introduce the sport to other countries. You know, they'll want to compete.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so they'll want to field a team.
That's fair.
So I think it's good in terms of exposure to the sport. You know, I mean, soccer is a worldwide sport. It's it's the world sport. So I think it's just really good for the sport of American football.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing is, which I'm glad you bring that up, because the other thing is football isn't on the same plane as skateboarding or like breakdancing.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, it's a little or like competitive pogo sticks.
Esports.
Right? Yeah. No, it's different.
Yeah.
So that makes sense too.
Underwater basket weaving.
Yeah. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, now that you said it, the integrity thing isn't as big of a deal when you look at football versus some of these other things.
Yep.
That you just go, why is that even happening? I mean, like, come on. So, yeah, that's all fair.
Yeah.
I get that.
So overall, I think we agree. Good for the world. Good for the sport.
Yeah.
Heard it here first, folks.
That's it.
Yep.
And, wow. Do we want to go anywhere else?
We could do college basketball.
Yeah, that's it.
Wanted
We
to.
did mention that. Yeah. Thank you. So we got a top 5. What do we know? What do we know about it?
Michigan State's at number 4.
Number 4.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What else do we know about it?
That is all we know.
Here's something that we need to mention, though, is that Kentucky, starting
Kentucky's
as a relative non-factor.
Yeah, they're outside the top 15 for I think like the first time since like Calipari got there.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It is.
But tell me what we're seeing.
I mean, you got Purdue at 3. You got 2 Big Ten teams in the top 4.
I love that.
And I think that's
I love that.
that's going to be the battle all season
Yeah.
for who's going to take the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, jostling back and forth.
Yeah, it's going to be Purdue and MSU at the top. Lots of talent. Obviously Fletcher at he had a solid freshman year for Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
He'll expand on that this year.
Yeah. They need to. You're right. A major issue for Purdue last year was the experience of the guards.
Yep.
Now that it's different, they could be a bigger factor for sure.
Yep. And then on top, you got the Blue Bloods.
Yeah.
Kansas and Duke.
Yeah.
Kansas, I think the one clear thing that we should mention there is Hunter Dickinson.
For sure. Yeah.
What do you think he brings to Kansas?
I think he definitely makes them a better team, and I think they are very deserving of that number 1 ranking. I think Purdue at 3. That's interesting. Honestly, they have the ED coming back. They're coming off that heartbreaking loss to FDU in March Madness. I'm very interested to see how Purdue does this year.
Okay.
And see if they live up to that hype, which I don't think they will.
Yes.
We shall see.
And then Duke in yet another year under John Shire.
Yeah.
I could see them taking another step forward.
I
And
do
that's
too.
evidenced by the fact that they're as vaunted in the AP as they are.
Yep, they got the recruiting class. Then you got Duke, MSU.
Yeah.
And the Champions
Wow.
Classic in Chicago. That should be a
Major.
lot of fun.
Major.
Yeah.
I love it. But
Shaping up to be a good season.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, it
should
is.
be good.
And it's one of those things. It always does. Here's a question. FAU being where they are at
Yeah.
11.
Yeah, that's.
What?
I know. I honestly think they could be another. They could be a force to reckon with this year. I think they could very well be right back there in Phoenix.
And especially now that they made the conference change.
Yep.
From the, I don't even know where they were at.
Where are they at now?
They're now in the American.
That's right.
But I don't know where they came from. I can't
Conference USA. I think.
Yeah,
USA?
that's
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but they classed up to the American. That's major.
Yep.
So we'll see. The Owls. I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. That's the highest ranked team of that stature that I've probably ever seen in the preseason. I don't remember another example.
Maybe Wichita State when they were really good, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. I would say FAU is even lesser known than Wichita was, though.
Interesting.
But just in terms of where they come from, where they have come from.
Yeah. True.
But, yeah. Anyway, is that about it?
I think that's about
I
it.
think that's about it.
That's about it.
Yep.
That's been the show for today, folks.
Thanks for tuning in to That's About It.
Slow your roll there, little kid.
Oh, okay.
But but no, we've had a great show today. We went through the entirety of college football. We were able to speak to you about what's happening with the Olympic landscape and what that could mean for the rest of the world and their understanding of the game of football.
Yep.
And then as well, we went through a little bit of college hoop.
Yep.
So that's been it for us on Slow Your Roll. But we appreciate you guys, and we'll be back next week with a whole lot more.
Yep. Peace out.
Peace.